Gohan showed the way to Goku, and a new transformation is now taking shape. Ultra Instinct Saiyan. Open quotes. Gohan says he reached his limit at that moment, so he wouldn't lose control, close quotes. Then Goku understands that he can reach a new state by using his instinct and his Saiyan form to give life to something totally different. Something that will make him one of the strongest warriors in the entire current Dragon Ball Super multiverse. This is just insane. Guys, Gohan showing the way to Goku and Broly, and Goku using these two monsters for inspiration. Want to know more about this? About what's actually happening with Goku in this new manga phase? Then make sure to subscribe to the channel, hurry up, and leave a like, and turn on the notification bell. Send this video to that one friend of yours. Come with me. What is missing for Goku to truly evolve, to reach the peak at this moment, which means the peak of the current moment, that can be defined in a single word, or two, actually one specific name, Black Frieza. The current peak in Dragon Ball Super. And how would he reach that level, without using the hacks that Gas and Granola used, and without using the time chamber again? Well, remembering that during Goku's training with Whis in the Granola arc, there's a moment where Goku expresses his frustration for feeling stuck and no longer able to evolve. Whis, always wise and calm, responds by saying that Ultra Instinct is not a fixed state, but something that can be refined and personalized for each fighter. He explains that Goku should not just copy the technique of the angels, but rather develop his own style within Ultra Instinct. Whis mentions that there's a hierarchy within this ability. He himself has greater mastery than Miras, and the Grand Priest possesses an even more refined level than him. This means Goku still has a lot of room to grow and perfect his technique. Would Ultra Instinct be the Zenkai of the future? Maybe yes, maybe no. Anyway, Whis then challenges Goku to think differently about his evolution, saying something like, open quotes, "What I mean is, you at least have that space to train and grow. Doesn't that excite you?" Close quotes. This statement encourages Goku to continue his journey without limiting himself to what he already knows, exploring new ways to improve his power. This moment is crucial for Goku, as it changes his perspective on Ultra Instinct and motivates him to pursue an even more advanced level of the technique. And with the help of Bardock, his father, he succeeds. I'll explain later in the video the importance of Bardock to this evolution. But what is truly missing for Goku to reach an even greater evolution? Well, I'll tell you, it's something he recently found, and that might have gone unnoticed by all of us. Considering everything that happens after the Granola Saga, more specifically on Beerus Planet, where during a fight against Gohan, he finds what was missing for this new evolution. Not just Gohan, but also by observing Broly. Up until then, Goku was facing something he didn't fully understand, but instinctively knew was important. The recent fight against Gohan had left not only physical marks, but also deep reflections. The clash of their fists, the determined look of his son, the destructive calm with which Gohan controlled his new power, and the breaking of Ultra Instinct. All of that echoed in Goku's mind as a hidden message he was still trying to decipher. And it was there, in that temporary battlefield where they starred in yet another great father-son fight, that Goku realized what was missing in his own evolution. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't just thrilled by another warrior's strength. He felt that there was something he himself had left behind, his own primal instinct. He saw that Gohan, amidst his mystical forms, managed to add the Saiyan beast within himself and not lose control. In other words, Goku could remember how important the Oozaru was for the Saiyans in the past, and thus assimilated something new within himself, that Saiyan monkey form, without fully turning into an Oozaru, would be sort of a linear hybrid of that form. By watching Gohan unleash the beast form with total control, something not even Broly had completely achieved, Goku finally understood the key he had been ignoring. Gohan accessed his power through deep emotions, not just rage, but protection, survival instinct, a visceral and animalistic response to danger. And Broly, on the other hand, was a storm of raw energy, his body reminiscent of a pure-blooded Saiyan, without social, cultural, or divine training limitations. Goku saw in that something he had been suppressing for far too long, his Saiyan nature in its wildest state. It was strange to think about, but the truth is that ever since becoming a Super Saiyan, Goku had been increasingly drifting away from what it truly meant to be a Saiyan. He had transcended common forms, reached Ultra Instinct, an angelic technique that made his movements perfect and free of intention. He had reached the divine. But what about the opposite of that? What if, instead of ascending, he He dove into the depths of his lineage. That was the thought that began generating the idea of a new transformation, not an evolution of Ultra Instinct, not a fusion with something divine, but a return to the origins, something that only a Saiyan in heart and soul could awaken. The Ultra Instinct Saiyan. This concept, initially just a spark in his mind, began to become a constant flame. Goku isolated himself for days, reflecting on how to unleash this power. He remembered the old stories told by Raditz, by Vegeta, by Paragus, about how the Ancestral Saiyans fought under the full moon, transforming into giant monkeys, the Oozuru. He himself had gone through it as a child, when he lost control and destroyed everything around him. But that was just the surface. The Oozuru was brute, uncontrollable. What Goku sought was deeper. Saiyan consciousness within savagery, the fusion between human reasoning and animal ferocity. He needed something that was both physical and spiritual. It would be something like that. What he might have used to access this power was the fact that he began to see images in his mind. For example, of his grandfather Gohan, killed by his Oozuru transformation, his first clash with Vegeta, who had used the giant monkey form, the destruction of the Tuffle planet Bardock stories. Goku was accessing something he had never had before, ancestral memories. And just like he accepted the Super Saiyan, the pride of the race, this is the moment where he could find and accept himself, accept what he had done in that form, which he had blocked. These memories and this fact are linked to acceptance and growth. Vegeta also went through that, and because of it, evolved a lot, facing and accepting the Saiyan sins. But now in a different way. Vegeta went through one of the deepest moments of his journey during the Granola Saga. From the beginning, he carried the weight of the Saiyan sins, recognizing that his race had been responsible for countless destructions and massacres throughout history. When he faced Granola, who sought revenge against the Saiyans for exterminating his people, Vegeta found himself in an internal dilemma. He not only acknowledged Granola's pain, but also felt that, in a way, he deserved to pay for those sins. This internal conflict led him to fight differently, without worrying about his own survival, almost as if he were willing to accept death as a form of atonement. However, throughout the battle, Vegeta began to realize something crucial. He couldn't simply carry the weight of his race's mistakes and surrender to fate. Instead, he should use that pain and past to strengthen himself. It was at that moment that he accessed Ultra Ego, a form that reflects his true nature as a warrior. Unlike Goku's Ultra Instinct, which seeks calm and detachment, Ultra Ego is fueled by pride and the acceptance of destruction. Vegeta realized that, instead of running from his identity, he should embrace it completely. He accepted that Saiyans were warriors of destruction, but that he could use this power consciously and strategically. By activating Ultra Ego, Vegeta became more powerful but also more aggressive. This form allowed him to grow stronger as he took hits, becoming increasingly destructive. However, there was a limit. If he went too far and completely ignored his physical resistance, he could end up self-destructing. During the fight against Granola, Vegeta demonstrated overwhelming power, but also realized he needed to balance his approach. He couldn't simply give in to uncontrolled chaos. This lesson was essential to his evolution as a warrior. In the end, Vegeta not only accepted his past, but turned it into fuel for his strength. He understood that he didn't need to die for the Saiyan sins, but rather grow from them. This change in mindset was one of the most defining moments in his journey, showing that he is not just a warrior in search of power, but someone who evolves constantly, both physically and emotionally. His fight against Granola was a turning point, establishing Ultra Ego as a unique technique deeply connected to his identity. If Goku had completely accepted the Oozuru Saiyan factor from the beginning and incorporated it into his development, he could indeed unlock a new form based on that primitive Saiyan essence. The giant ape transformation Oozuru has already proven to be an immense power source, multiplying the user's strength by 10. However, the problem has always been the lack of control over this form. If Goku could integrate this wild energy into his fighting style, something similar to Dragon Ball GT's Super Saiyan 4 could emerge, but with even greater refinement. In GT, Super Saiyan 4 is an evolution that combines the power of the Golden Oozuru with the fighter's consciousness, creating an extremely powerful and balanced form. However, in Dragon Ball Super, the transformations follow a different path, focusing more on divine energy and mastery over one's body. If Goku explored this connection with his Saiyan nature consciously, he could develop a unique technique, perhaps something that combined Ultra Instinct with the ferocity of the Ozaru. This would result in a form that not only increased his brute strength, but also his reaction capacity and battle instinct. After all, Saiyans are warriors by nature, and their evolution has always been linked to surpassing their own limits. Although Dragon Ball Super has not yet explored this idea directly, it's interesting to imagine how Goku could use this aspect of his race to reach a new level of power. Who knows? Maybe Toyotaro or future writers will decide to explore this possibility at some point, doing something similar to Dragon Ball Daima, but without the tail factor, which had disappeared many years ago. He might begin to transform into an Ozaru, but not fully, just within that transformation itself. First as a pain in his back, then as a living extension of his body. He screams, not in pain, but in surprise. His eyes turn golden, but not like the regular Super Saiyan. They had a fierce, animalistic glow. His aura began to expand, not like a flame, but like a storm of swirling leaves around his body. The hair on his arms thickened slightly, his muscles swelled. But he didn't become a giant ape. He was transforming into the Saiyan ape, and after that he came back to himself, only with red eyes and body, but still white-haired, emphasizing the Ultra Instinct Saiyan. The form was something between Dragon Ball GT's Super Saiyan 4 and Ultra Instinct, but completely different from both. He retained rationality, but his movements were unpredictable. He roared instead of speaking, and his strikes came from all directions, as if he had learned from the movements of wild predators. The others, upon seeing him, would be paralyzed, not with fear, but with respect. It was like witnessing a true Saiyan at his peak. This new form wouldn't have another official name, except simply Ultra Instinct Saiyan, as a tribute to what he had been, to what his race represented, and to what he was now capable of controlling. Upon returning to Earth, Goku kept the transformation a secret. He knew it was not something to be used lightly. It was a state that demanded concentration, emotional balance, and above all, responsibility. And there, he would be consecrated against Frieza, who, seeing the legend return, would witness Goku with his new power wreaking havoc. And there, on that battlefield against Frieza, Goku would unleash the Ultra Instinct Saiyan once again. The roar that echoed tore through reality. Goku's aura distorted gravity. His body moved like a hunting animal. His attacks came from absurd directions, with no apparent technique, only instinct. Frieza couldn't predict them. For the first time, he hesitated, and that hesitation was enough for Goku to open a gap. With a leap reminiscent of the Ozaru's jumps, he descended on his opponent with a strike that mixed the Kamehameha with an ancestral scream. The universe trembled. After the fight, Whis only watched, intrigued. Beerus smiled slightly, as if recognizing something he thought lost. And Goku, returning to his base form, felt something strange, not exhaustion, but completeness. As if he had finally accepted all parts of himself. The warrior, the father, the Saiyan, the Earthling, the god, the ape, the Ultra Instinct Saiyan. The new transformation, beyond being powerful, symbolized a new balance. And Goku knew there was still much to explore. Because if the universe's future was increasingly uncertain, at least one thing was clear. He was ready. And this time, not for having become something greater than a god, but for finally having become whole.